Hello everybody and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about how Games Workshop could potentially be rolling the old world out. How are they going to do it? How are they going to bring into the legacy factions and all of that good stuff. So grab a brew, get comfortable and let's get cracking. Yay, the old world, it's out. The old world is out. So if you're liking the old world, I am really loving the old world right now. And I've had a really good read of the rulebook. And oh my god, it's so good. And this is what spawned this video. Really enjoyed the rulebook. There's a lot of really cool stuff in it. And if you do like the old world and you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel right now and ring that bell and drop a comment and tell me how much you like the old world. So now that's done, let's jump into the video. So the old world and how Games Workshop are going to be rolling this bad boy out. Well. I personally think that we've already kind of seen how they're going to do it for at least the existing core factions. And that's the original 9. Let's call them that. So the Orcs and Goblins have obviously been given their sort of preview. And what I'm suspecting is that once the Orcs and Goblins are up on preview, up on pre-order, that, and I'm gonna speculate that that's probably gonna happen sometime during February. I think that when that happens, we'll get an announcement, Warhammer community post talking about the next faction for the old world, and this will probably be dwarfs. And again, we'll have the list of their battalion box, what's in the battalion box, and we'll also have a list of any of the new miniatures, the king. And if you want to talk, let's see, have sort of like a little bit of fun and see some of my predictions and wish listing for future new models, you can check out this video up there to check that one out if you really want to. So yes, the king, and probably some other stuff. But there'll be a big long list of metal miniatures that'll be on made to order and all of that good stuff. You know, it's guaranteed to happen. But what do they do from there? Well, I've got a feeling that as these factions get announced and go into pre-order, the next faction will be announced. Until we've probably got all 9 of them out. And I'm fully expecting all 9 factions to be out on the shelves, in the players' hands, by the summer. And the reason why I'm thinking this is because Age of Sigmar 4th edition is coming out. And that's going to be a big thing. And Games Workshop will want the limelight and the spotlight and all of the attention on the new edition of one of their core big selling games. Which is guaranteed. Up until then, we have a lot of 40k that is going to be dropping. We know that in March, April and May, there are literally something like 5 armies getting updated for 40k for the rollout of 10th edition. But in between that, I've got a feeling that we'll probably get a little bit of Horus Heresy, although the Horus Heresy I believe is going to be next month with the Solar Auxiliary. But from that point on, we're probably going to be getting the old world dropped in. Now you got to remember that in the grand scheme of things, the old world releases are not really that big. If you look at things like the Orcs, it's a battalion box and 2 new characters and then some other stuff and then a made to order. And the made to order doesn't seem to come at the same time as the preview if we go by the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians. That kind of came after the main release. So if we look at how they're doing that and how they're going to be rolling it out, we can guarantee that there's at least 2 periods in that respective month that they're going to do Old World. The initial faction release and then the made to order pre-order, which is kind of cool. But what do they do once they've got all 9 factions? Well, that's really easy. Campaign books. Campaign books are going to be a really good way of them to add new things to the game. And I'm going to call it now. I think that Kislev and Cathay are going to be introduced probably next year as a campaign book. I've got a feeling that we will get a campaign book based in and around the Troll Country and Kislev itself, and an entire new range, launch box, all singing, all dancing, all the bells and whistles out, new range of miniatures for the Warhammer Old World being Kislev. And the reason why I'm thinking this, as this also includes Cathay, but Cathay will be a little bit later, probably the year after. And the reason why I'm thinking this is there's big sections of this book, the rule book, on Cathay and Kislev. They're all marked on the maps. And if this was just based on the 9 factions, that wouldn't happen. So we're obviously going to get Kislev and Cathay at some stage. It's a guarantee. I don't think it's a matter of if it's going to happen. I think it's more of a happen of when they're going to do it. And I think realistically having Kislev come out sometime next year is probably a good prediction. And it'll probably be introduced with a campaign book. Now, why am I talking about campaign books? Well, it's a Games Workshop standard now. The Horus Heresy are pretty much doing the same thing. We've just had an announcement for the Horus Heresy where they've talked about bringing 2 new armies to the game through a campaign book. Black Shields and the Shattered Legions are getting an army list for Age of Darkness through a campaign book. And it kind of makes me think, campaign books is definitely the way to do it. They can sell a £30 book and they don't really have to mess about with existing army books. So if you look at it, the Old World and the Horus Heresy, they're kind of very similar in how they're sort of presented to the customers. You have your big rule book, and then you have your 2 army books. You have a good guy book, and then you have a bad guy book. The Old World is the same. You have your rule book, and then you have your good guy book, and you have your bad guy book. Anything else outside of that is either been released in its own book, or has been included and added to a campaign book. So the fact that I don't think we're just going to get a book for Kislev and Cathay, that doesn't make sense. But I can see them having a campaign book for things and games and stories and narrative based in the north with Kislev and an army list for them. But what else could they do? That's a little bit boring, just having one faction. Well, other factions like Warriors of Chaos, Nausicaa, and Beastmen, things like that are around and linked in with that story, can have like arcane journal type entries in that campaign book to support the other existing factions. This could also work for Cathay. And it kind of would. You could have a campaign book, say, you know, the Far East, or whatever, the Wall in the East, or whatever they want to call it. You could kind of get the idea that that book would be centered entirely around Cathay. But what does that mean for the future, and what other campaign books could we get? Well, the legacy factions. It's the perfect way for them to bring in the legacy factions into the core game and not make them legacy anymore. So, you know, it's pretty simple. You want to introduce Lustria to the game and the Lizardmen, here's a campaign book for Lustria. You can have your army list entirely there for the Lizardmen. You can then have a number of arcane journal entries for things like the Chaos Marauders, or a Chaos Marauder Nausicaa themed army list for Warriors of Chaos. You can then also have the Bretonnians also being included in that book. You can have a book for the Dark Elves and the War of the Elves, and have things like the entirety of the Dark Elf army list in the campaign book, as well as arcane journal type entries for things like Tyrion and the High Elves. There's a lot of the things that they can do, and you can, if you look at it that way, it's a lot of what they can do for each of the existing legacy factions. Now, it's probably going to happen, and it would make a lot of sense for them to do it, and it also means it's a lot easier for them to do it where they're centralizing this army in one book and not having to mess around with other books. The rulebook is clearly future-proofed for this to happen. We have rules for poisoned weapons and things, and the really only real factions that use that are legacy factions. So if they didn't really care about the legacy factions, would they really need those rules in the core rules? So the game is clearly being future-proofed for bringing them in. And let's be honest, they're going to sell. If they put out a campaign book and then an army launch for the Dark Elves or the Skaven or the Lizardmen, they know that that's going to sell, especially with the outcry that has happened lately over the launch and over the whole legacy things. So that's how I think it's going to go. And I don't think Warhammer The Old World is going to be on a 3-year cycle like 40k and Age of Sigmar. I think it's going to be on a lot longer cycle, like the Horus Heresy is. There's no inkling that the Horus Heresy is getting a new edition anytime soon, and the game has been out for over 2 years now. So normally we would be expecting a new edition next year. That's not going to happen. I think what we're probably going to get is major releases for the Old World and Horus Heresy in between big release windows for Age of Sigmar and 40k. And I think that's probably the best way for them to do it. Now, they'll probably do something completely different, and they'll probably not even be doing what I've just said they're going to be doing. This is just me speculating on how I would release the game in a really easy, simple way. This is Games Workshop after all. They don't necessarily always do it the easy, simple way. They kind of sometimes do it a very half-assed, stupid way. We all know this. We've been collecting these and playing their games for a long time, and we kind of have seen it. Well, you just have to look at the debacle that is the Golden Demon competition to see how sometimes out of touch with the player base that they can actually be. But that's a complete different topic and something I'm not really going to make a video on. But yeah, this is my idea. This is my prediction of what they're probably going to do. So you can agree or you can disagree. You can let me know in the comments below if you do either. And you can also like, subscribe, and all of that jazz on the channel if you're liking my content. I'm absolutely loving making the Old World content right now. It's really, really cool. And I will be having a lot more. There is going to be some really cool stuff. I would just like to point out that I am moving house very, very soon in the next couple of weeks. So there will be a period where the channel will maybe go a little bit quiet for a week or two. And that's basically when I'm going to be moving and I'm going to be setting up. But once I'm in the new house with the girlfriend, I will have a new room, a new little setup, and I will be hitting the content hard. There is going to be a lot of Old World coming. There is going to be a lot more High Elf painting stuff coming, and another army. Yes, I am going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to do a Bretonnian army because I've always wanted to do a Bretonnian army, and I'm an idiot and like painting every individual knight with its own heraldry. Yay. So that's going to be coming to the channel soon as well. So enjoy that. And then I'll probably kick off the Horus Heresy stuff as well once I've moved and start really getting into the Horus Heresy side of videos as well. So if you like the sound of all of that, subscribe to the channel. And check out my members area and my Patreon if you want to support me in other ways. And I will catch you all in the next video, everybody. Goodbye for now. See you later.